Man,
So we got Milan cards. Each card, Mr. Tanzer, has a question on it that you are unprepared for. Now, I could have gone for embarrassing questions given the fact that I've known you for over 20 years, but I didn't. I spared you. But there are hopefully questions that will trigger maybe some thoughts.
Have you been hacking into my computer or anything?
Yeah, don't worry about it. You just keep doing what you're doing. Anyway, here you go. Pick a card. What's the first Milan card?
Oh, it's dangerous to know technological people.
Have a read.
What was the most uplifting sporting event that you have ever attended? Wow.
Well, because I put this
Just
question
one.
for you because I know that one of your passions is going to watch live events.
Free tickets.
Free tickets. It's always been about the free tickets.
There's nothing for free. In all my many years, even though you get something without paying for it, you've paid for it one way or the other.
No such thing as a free lunch, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I think when you have enough experience, you realise that.
Right.
But in your plethora of free, not free tickets that you've enjoyed over the last year, and I know I've been to some football matches with you. In fact, before you answer, I've got a memory. One year we were at Sportel, must have been around that same time. We met. I don't know if you remember this.
In Milano.
In Milano for a Champions League game. It was my first ever Champions League game. It was a group stage game between Milan and Ajax.
Right.
And I remember, how I felt when the players come out as the champions and all that. And I was so excited as all my life a football fan. And you looked at me and you were smiling. I looked at you, I was like, what? And you were like, just nodding away. And you said, it's so nice to see you excited like this because it reminds me of how I felt on my first Champions League game. And you were at that stage, the experienced guru, had been to so many Champions League games and finals and everything, and you were reminiscing about your own first-time experience through me. And I have to tell you, I've obviously since had that because I've had the privilege and the pleasure of being at a number of great sporting events, and I have since taken a couple of people that filled that role. And that pleasure when you look back at it is something. So I remember, and I thank you very much for that, because we met at the San Siro. I remember we had a ridiculous drive back to Monaco.
Yeah.
About 4 hours on the road.
Yeah. I think I fell asleep.
I think we were back.
But we're still here. So.
Amazing we're here still.
Well, I remember that because the great thing about having you with me is that you speak a lot of languages, one of them Italian, so you could translate all the things the Rossoneri fans were saying. It was great. I finally understood, I obviously nothing to repeat here.
Exactly. It's a family show. You can't repeat what goes on in an Italian football stadium. But yeah, there's so much aggression and swearing and everything. And
but to have you there to translate it for me was like, wow. I should have thought of this earlier.
I've hijacked this question. You've got to tell me your major event.
You did hijack it, but you hijacked it in the right place. I think Champions League is the best place to start because I was fortunate enough to have met our mutual friend, our managing partner, Meinstein, Craig Thompson, back in '95 when he was the CEO of team marketing running the Champions League. He was basically one of the three people who initiated it. Anybody who on LinkedIn knows this already because we've all repeated it 100 times. But and because we became a broadcast partner at that point at the Sports Channel in Israel, Champions League, Craig and I, remained in good contact. We were both two American West Coast expats living, overseas, and we kind of had a mutual connection. We kept that connection. So Champions League became kind of a big part of my professional life. And two finals are I know you wanted one event, but two finals are I have to select. One was the 1999 final in Barcelona between Manchester United and Bayern Munich, which was the most amazing.
It was a terrible game, apart from the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a really boring game.
Right. But if you were a supporter of Man U, which I kind of was, I guess, I'm not...
Glory support.
What's that?
Glory support.
Well, yeah, you might say. No, but because I really admired Man U because we were also a Premier League rights holder in the 90s when Man U was really, becoming the powerhouse in the Premier League, and they did kind of, capture the imagination.
Of course. Yeah.
And I think if I think back on one player who I really stands out and somebody who I admire, you can say what you want about him, is Eric Cantona, because as a showman, as somebody who we were showing the Premier League, we wanted to make it as much of a show as possible. He was really doing the work for us. So I do have a warm spot in my heart for Manchester United. And so it was a bad game, but if you want Manchester United to win, it's like you're tense all the time, so it's okay. Especially the way it turned out was absolutely amazing. Even though I did feel sorry for the Bayern Munich fans, and there are a lot of very interesting stories and anecdotes that we've heard from Craig about that game,
Yes.
which we won't get into now. But that was amazing. And then I would say also the 2005 final in Istanbul, Liverpool and Milan.
I knew you were going to bring that one up. I mean, honestly, go on. Tell
No,
me.
just
Remember.
Nothing to say. I mean, it was all any as we say, kol milam miyuteret here in Israel. Every word is redundant. I mean,
Yeah, unbelievable. Leading 3-0 at half time, Milan, it looks like it's all over, and then Liverpool come back to win it. Unbelievable. I remember. But do you remember that there's a personal thing here? And why does this pinch me when you mentioned that 2005? You don't remember?
Memory,
About a month before the final, you called me up. It's 2005, finals in Istanbul. And you called me up and you say, Dan, I've got 2 tickets to the Champions League final. Do you want to come? And I, like an idiot, said, I've got too many things on, too many commitments. And I basically said no. And I remember you sent me a text after the final whistle, which in my memory was something like, I can't believe you're not here, you missed an amazing match. And in my mind, it was just like, you're such an idiot. That's how I translated it. Actually, maybe that's what you wrote. I don't know. Maybe I just calmed it down over the years in my memory. But for me, that was such a lesson. When you get offered Champions League tickets, don't make excuses. When you get offered a great thing to do in life, don't make excuses. Just do it. Just go. Do what the Nike commercial says. Just do it.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Exactly. There's always a reason not to do things in life. Find that one reason to just go and do it. And I was
if that's what came out of the game for you, then it was maybe good you didn't come. I had a great time. Let me tell you about it.
I'm sitting at home watching it, thinking, what am I doing here? Unbelievable.
But there is one thing I want to say that even about on this question about the most uplifting sporting event. These were exciting. These were great. And this is what we love sports. But there was something that was really uplifting that I wasn't there, but I saw it on TV. And I have to mention it in this context because it really kind of cemented my love of sports, because sports transcends. And it was the World Cup final of rugby in 1995 in South Africa, and it was the final of Springboks playing. I think it was New Zealand.
New Zealand, that's right. An amazing event.
And nobody expected South Africa to win it. And South Africa just come out of apartheid, and Nelson Mandela was sitting in the stands in the stadium, and he had a Springbok jersey on, which if you look at just that, had South Africa not even won, but just have Nelson Mandela wearing a Springbok jersey. I mean, Nelson Mandela, the iconic fighter against apartheid, and the Springboks, one of the iconic symbols of apartheid. Just how important and what an amazing historical figure he was. And then the fact that South Africa won, and he came onto the pitch and gave the cup to, I think it was Joel Stransky, who's a Jewish guy. That's also another connection. Yeah. Who's the captain of the Springboks. That was, I remember sitting in my office, our office, and having a small TV kind of over my desk, and just wow, being completely amazed. I mean, just stunned.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a significant event way beyond sport. I think it's a really good example of how sport really transcends just the combat of 2 teams on the pitch. It's way beyond that. It touches people's lives. I think that's one of the reasons why any of us who work in the sports industry, we love it, because it's not just about the sport. It's about how it touches us and our emotions. And when it goes to that level of not only national significance for South Africa, but international significance coming out of apartheid, unbelievable, absolutely. And what a symbol and the ability to bring people together through that one unbelievable legend that was Nelson Mandela.
Well, I think you mentioned, emotions. I think there's 2 words. Emotions, you mentioned, transcend, that I mentioned. Those 2 terms, I think, when they converge.
Go back to convergence again.
When converge, it's like, it's really what we're all about. Fantastic. And almost in any sporting event, there is, if you are attached to it one way or the other, you find an emotional connection. And then the question is, of course, who is bringing that match to you, if you're not in the venue, how they successfully tell that story. That's really the key. So
it's all about how the story is told again.
Exactly.
And with sport, it's too easy. To tell the story through sport is very simple because it touches our heartstrings, all of us.
Yeah, and then if you have the people behind the scenes who are doing the work, they have to be aware of that and they have to be able to bring that home. So
Yeah. Great answer. See, these cards are not so scary. I'm not going to tell you what's on the other two, but these cards are not so scary.